Happy Wednesday, everybody. Today we're going to go through building up a new layout. Alright, so before we jump into this, keep in mind it has been a hot minute since I have used OBS to do screen capture, and I'm one of those crazies that has an ultra-wide monitor, so getting my aspect ratios on this to function with normal YouTube videos was kind of a thing, but what I want to go through is I am running into some issues with my layout, and I've been complaining for a while now that I've had several decoder failures, and ESU has yet to get me my system back, and honestly, I have reached out 3 or 4 times to support, and they have yet to answer any of my emails since they got, uh, both of my systems in their hands. So a little bit concerned with what's going on there. They have had them for over 3 weeks at this point, so starting to get a little bit concerned. But I kept hearing from everyone that it must be an issue with my layout that is causing all these problems, and I definitely did my due diligence to double check that all my wiring is put together properly, and I have a relatively put together wiring schematic underneath my layout, and it seems to function pretty well with all of my other systems. But one thing about my layout is that I designed it before I was doing the YouTube thing, and it was something for me personally, something that I wanted to have, and there were certain scenes in it that I wanted to put together, and I was about halfway through it when I started kind of doing my YouTube thing, and my needs drastically changed at that point. And so since I'm running into a lot of issues with this current one, I think it's probably time to reassess the type of layout that I have and put something together that is a little more usable for what I want to do. So unfortunately, for the time being, I cannot afford the shed, but it's probably pertinent to build something a little more user friendly for some of these higher end engines that I'm getting into, some larger curves and a little bit more space. So I've been playing with some stuff, and I thought I would go through it with you guys. So if any of you have never used AnyRail, it is a alternative to SCARM, and personally I like the ease of use for EasyTrack on AnyRail, and I ended up purchasing a license from them. I think they do good work, and honestly, you can put up to like 50 pieces of track on here without paying for a license. But I figured, since I am constantly farting with this and trying to find, something a little cooler, I figured I'd better pay him for it. But essentially, the current space that I have allows for a 4x8 sheet of plywood, and it is backed into a corner, so these two walls are inaccessible. So a couple of things when I'm putting this together is I'm gonna have to leave an access panel somewhere in the center here that I can come up in the center of the layout and either remove a section of it so I can stand in the middle of it. I find that in my current layout, stuff always tends to derail or get stuck, or track needs to be cleaned right here at this far back corner where I just simply can't reach it. So that is going to be a concern with this, is that I need, either one central access panel or two over here that, are roughly a foot deep by 2 feet wide, something like that, just so I can get in there and deal with issues. Also, I have a bridge back here, and I want to maintain some of my bridges, but this particular one is covered, and again, when things tend to happen, they tend to end up right here. That's going to have to go away. I want all of the stuff on the back here relatively easy to access should I need to get into it. So I've been thinking, and I still want to do a double main line, and I think I want to go to the bigger curve. So I'm in kind of the middle. I want to say it's like the 15-16. I want to go to the 17-18 radius curve. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come over here to our Kato, and if you haven't selected it, you go to your object library and your track libraries, and you're going to find all of your applicable track selections. We are in N right now, and we are doing Kato Unitrack, and that's why it's selected. We will get to object libraries here in just a little bit. This right here is just kind of the standard 9 3/4 straight. We're going to put several of these on the map here. And that's going to kind of act as our initial straight. And then when you come down here, you're going to see your dual track curves, and we are looking for the bigger ones. So here is the 15 and 16, which is what I currently have. There's the smaller ones, so this one must be the big one. So we're going to need 3 of these curves, and then 1 of each of the transition pieces. And the reason why I do it this way is because these are directional. They will only hook up to this in one direction, because they have a I forget what it's called, but the embankment or whatever that is built into these. We're going to go ahead and build our first corner, and then what I'm going to do is I am just going to copy this. We're going to grab this section right here and attach it. So we're a little bit bigger than my current constraints. Something that I need to be aware of, and we're going to go back to, I have literally 8 feet to the edge of this wall over here, and because I am going to put backer board on each side here, I am going to shrink the actual length of this by just a little bit to give myself just a little bit of room on that edge, just so this doesn't go past the edge of the wall here. I'm also going to need to shave some corners off here, kind of like my current layout is, just to make it easier to walk by. But currently, we are too long for this section. So we are going to just remove this here. Pull this into place. And actually that, no, we're not. We might try adding a 4-inch section here. 7, 7. Interesting. I thought they were 4 and something. Alright, well, 5-inch double track it is. We'll just try sticking that in there. Okay. That is closer to what I am looking for. So we will just kind of put this together, and this is going to be the starting point that we're going to work off. So there are a couple things that I want to maintain for my current layout. Over here, I want this, and this is something you need to make sure that you have selected when you first start doing this. I forget where it's at. Oh, obviously in show. You want to have your road bed selected, especially for Unitrack. This gives you the entire width of the piece of track that you're installing. And then while we're doing this, I am going to change my grid size, and we're just going to make it 1-inch sections. And this looks a little bit overwhelming, but it can be easily swapped back. But what this allows me to do is we're going to zoom in down here, and I want across the back straight 1 inch of space between that and my backer board, just to give me a little bit of room. I also want to possibly put in signals there, so that's going to be something just to have a little extra room. We're going to basically bring this up right to the 95-inch there, and then we are going to pull this up to that line. So this is going to be in a tunnel again, right through here, and then this is all going to be open to visual, so you could see into the trains running through the tunnel. It'll have overhead, and it'll allow me to get a little extra light in there for running video. However, I think I want the tunnel to stop right here, give or take, and this section right here can be used to see the trains coming out of this tunnel, and I'm considering putting another one right here, but we'll get to that in just a minute here. So now we have the main loop. This is going to be my my two mains, and I want to maintain this gap right here. I use my phone to record my daily videos, and I like the big radiuses, so I can put my phone anywhere in here and get different angles of the trains coming around these loops. So that will be something that I want to maintain. And my main line is going to be completely flat now. I'm not going to have any grades on my mains, so I can put the big boy on here, larger, longer consists. I can run some of my more finicky things, and I have a nice easy gradual turn, and so it should be really reliable for all of my standard engines. Now, I do, at this point, now that I have my main figured out, I'm going to start adding my branch lines and possibly my secondary line. And what we have to do now is set the constraints of the total area that I'm going to use. So this is where I like to come in with the surface, and I pick a point up here, and I can go the 4 feet over here. And then we're just going to pick a point right here. It doesn't have to be perfect at this point. Do something to the nature of this. This is essentially the same shape as my current layout. Something to the nature of this. You can drag and pull points over to the corners. It's a little easier after the fact. And then what we'll do, kind of get this in position here, that's close enough. We are going to, yeah, here we go. If you select this, and we're just going to send it back. I was dumb, I don't know why I clicked all those. But anyway, so this is kind of the space that I would like to see and plan to work with. So again, I have the inch back here, just to make sure that we have enough room between this and the backer board. If you're curious, you can pull this away and bring it back up if you want to see your lines. But at this point, I don't necessarily need to see my grid in the back. We can pull it back up if we have to later. So I'm just gonna bring that to the major width. So let's see here. The next thing I want to do is I want to maintain having a yard over here. And my current layout, I actually have a siding that comes from right here and ends up right here. So I'm coming out of a corner into a turnout, and I find that causes a lot of problems, especially with my grade starting right here. So what I want to do is totally get rid of that. I run trains that are too long to have a siding right here. It just, unfortunately, it just ain't going to work out. And so the first thing I want to do is I kind of want to find the center of this, and this is probably going to be where it's at because I'm going to want to, somewhere over here, have the yard come off. So we're going to go ahead and delete this piece right here. And before I forget, so we don't accidentally mess this up, because we have this nice and aligned, we're going to select this, and we're going to glue this one in place. So this one's stuck here, so if anything happens to move, we can always come back and reference it to that right there. Anything attached to it will also stay in place. I have a double crossover right now, and honestly, I almost never use it. So I can save a little bit of money going back together if I just use a standard crossover. And these also have a more standard width, so they're a little bit easier to get in to just the normal piece of track, because this can be opposite with one of these. The double turnout's quite a bit longer and requires some special pieces that can add cost. So I think right here is where we are going to go ahead and branch off. So we are just going to get rid of all of this, I think, and we are going to come over here and find the just standard number 6 turnouts, which I believe are these right here. So in this case, you kind of want to line that up. See how it flipped around backwards? That's important. That's how that can work. And then yeah, let's just do this one like that just for now. We'll see what that looks like all said and done here. And then we're going to need a piece right here. These are standard, so I'm guessing that this is going to be a 7 1/4 gap. Let's see, 7 1/4. Bingo bango. And we all matched up. So, perfect. Now let's go ahead and start seeing how many actual turnouts we can get in here. So we will just keep slapping these on here until we run out of space. Okay, so here is where I want to deviate. I have this on my current layout. I want to have a drive back where I can store some engines right here that aren't being run. And as well as I normally have my, over here I have my programming track. I want to move it directly in front of where I have my my command control. So what we're going to do is I'm going to add another turnout right here. This is starting to look gross. And if you are new to these turnouts, a 15-degree, and I have a bunch of 12s. Yeah, we will put the 12s in there because I already have some of these. These will get them straight with one another. Come up here and just grab a couple of these. There we are. And then interesting. I wonder. I got another one of those 12s. Ooh. You know what? I'm going to delete that, and we are going to put in... Okay. I like the way that looks. So here's what we're going to do at this point. Before we fill these in, I want this to be my programming track right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to come to this intersection right here, and we are going to add an isolator. So this piece of track is going to be completely isolated from the rest of the track. And I will get to why this is going to be important. I'm actually going to do a couple of things on this, I think. This is going to be my programming track. I got lots of track here, so I can put a re-railer on here, be able to slide an engine down. And if you have ever programmed a lot of DCC engines, they tend to move when they're programming, especially if you're doing multiple CVs at one time. So that'll be good. There's lots of area there, and I can even trim this back a little bit if I want to. You just cut the track, and then I will build my own stop at the end of this. However, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking to myself, how about I do something like this? And what this would allow me to do is potentially hook into this. Say I did build another layout. This will be at a set height. I could actually hook into this with, continue on with more track at some point, as well as drive right through. So that's a cool little feature. I like having future expandability. I could build this into another layout at some point. So I like that idea. I'm going to keep that in there for the moment. So now what we're going to do is we're going to fill in the entirety of our yard here. And this is going to be something like 4 feet long, so I should have plenty of storage space in this yard now, which I feel like I'm lacking now, so that will be a nice little addition. So this is going to look odd. Again, I can just take this track and cut it down. If I'm using all of the same pieces of track, I can then take this short chunk, hook it on here, level everything off, and this short chunk and hook it here and level everything off. Now what I will do is this point, this point, this point, and this point, they are all going to get, as well as all of the connections in between each of these switches, these are all going to get feeders. And so I'll have power to this track all the time and power in between these at all times, as well as right here, because I have a disconnection right here. Matter of fact, I might even put one there as well. So what that's going to do is have all of my feeders from my yard all in one really nice close district. I won't have anything down at this end anymore. And so that will make wiring these up really easy. As well as on this layout, I am going to try to run motorized turnouts. That's going to keep all of my turnouts in one distinct area, so I'm not going to have to run a whole lot of wiring. So that is kind of why I wanted to have everything right down here. Also, if there's issues, I can stand right here and I'm nice and close to it. This section right here, I'm going to go ahead and add an isolator. This is going to be electrically disconnected. Feeder here, and I guess feeders are easy to put in for me. Feeder here and feeder here. And then probably a feeder on each of these on the other side. Just so I have plenty of power going to everything. I will go through, when we start working on this layout, how I make my feeders. Some people pay for the Kato ones. It is, I'll show you how I built the jig, and it is super easy to make your own Kato feeders. So I'll do that video in a couple weeks when we get started on this. But yeah, absolutely, more feeders is better in my opinion, and they're so easy to make. I got no problem putting them in. So we're starting to look like a bit of a layout now, and so I have 2 of these already. I think I got a 4-pack sitting in my bin of track. So if I can, I'm going to add another one of those over here. Oops. And that's going to straighten us out. But I don't necessarily want to do it right off the bat. So since I'm using a short one here, I think this is gonna get us out of here a little bit. I'm gonna use one more of these. Let's see, I got 1, 2, 3. Oops. I guess maybe I'll save it because I'm gonna need some of these. And then my secondary loop, I am going to go with, maybe I should have some 12s on here to test some rolling stock with. So I'm going to put 90-degree turn right here, and then we'll do another one of these. Oops. So now, right here, I want to put in a granary, and that is going to be in the object library. Go to the N and the Walters, and here we are. And then what we're going to do is, I believe we are 90 degrees off. We're going to put that right there. So that's something I've been wanting for a while, and what that will allow me to do is maybe I'll kind of put a town area right here, but what we're going to do is we're going to draw another surface. So I'm just going to pull this out of the way for the moment, and we are 1 foot. So what we're going to do, So there is an area that I can access. I can come up and actually, we are just going to select this, and we are going to do fill color, and we are going to make this bright. Oop, no, that's my line. Whoops. Fill color, bright green. And then we are going to drag this back up in position. There we go. Okay, close enough for the moment. So that is going to be, we could maybe put like a town scene or something right there, and I can lift that out and it'll give me access to this back panel. I can come underneath and get to some of this area here. And then I also want to have a secondary loop. And so I was thinking I wanted to go with a little bit larger curve. I got some 12s to test on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the 13s. Here we are. And we are going to put together a secondary loop. And what we're going to do is, I had an idea. I'm going to take two of these, that one, a 7, and one of these. And then we're going to copy that. Maybe not. There we go. Copy, paste. Alright, so my secondary loop overlaps this area. However, I am actually going to, it's actually pretty close. I might be able to get away with, if I made this more like this. More of a sideways one. I could maybe get away with that. We will come back to that a little bit later. I might have to shorten this just a tick though. I am going to drag this up here. So let's zoom out. And what we're going to do, maybe, we're going to pull this off the page. And everything that you see right here, we are going to where is my set height function? I guess I can do it this way. Elevate, and we're going to set this at 2 inches. And then this particular one, we are going to set height at 5 inches. And we are going to pull this and put it right over top. Something like that. And this is going to be our tunnel right here, so we'll be on top of that. And then this is going to kind of be a sheer wall, I think. I might pull this down just a little bit. And then, unfortunately, the tunnel system doesn't work that good in here, but like this section for sure will be, we're going to do hidden. And then I want like a bridge or something right here, but I want to use an open top bridge because loading rolling stock on this is going to be a pain in the butt if I have to try to go through the bridge again. I run that into that with my current loop that I've got kind of in that same area. You always got to work around the bridge, so I want one of those like open top bridges, and they're all like 7. Okay, so we're going to set this height at 5, and it should be, if I delete this particular one, that should pop right in there. And then we want to set that as a bridge. Okay, let's, I kind of like what we got going. We're going to have that, that granary right here, and again, these are going to get cut off. But let's take a look at our 3D view. That's gross to look at. Let's put the sky behind it and kind of see a little bit of what we got going on. Yeah, and this is kind of what I want back here is kind of an access hole to see what's going on. This will be a nice sheer cliff right here. The trains will be able to run right by it. I think that'll be a cool scene. And I do think I want another tunnel right there. So let's just pop out quickly. Go back to our 2D design. And I think here, we want these hidden. So that's going to be a tunnel right there. Now, I would normally go to right here. However, you need to keep in mind, especially with these, like the Big Boy and some of like my electric, I have one of those electric Broadways. They have a lot of front end hangover. My SD80s and 90s have the same thing. They tend to stick out quite a ways. And if you're coming around a corner that's a little too tight and there is a, like a door or something to go through, the tunnel entrance, you can actually end up running into that. So you need to make sure you get plenty of clearance there. So if we're, almost 5 inches into the straight at this point, should have no problem going into a relatively tight tunnel. So make sure you leave yourself room. Don't do it right after a curve. If you're already in the curve, it's more okay because you'll have room to extend your my walls on each side here, so that shouldn't be the biggest deal. And then this is cut off right here, but I'll probably stagger it, so the inner loop will end right here and the outer loop will end back here somewhere, just so it looks a little more reasonable. Same thing with up here, it'll start down here, vice versa. And then I probably will look into making these, like maybe this will be a waterfall or something right here. Maybe I'll look into making these bridges. I'll play with this some more, but been a bit of a long video, so I think we'll cut her off. Been a half hour screwing around, and if you stayed with me this long, I really appreciate it, guys. But I think next week we'll keep working on this, try to fine-tune some stuff. And if you got any ideas, feel free to let me know down in the comments. We'll try to integrate it next time. And now that I'm seeing this, I think this will be a nice little access area right here too. Might have to do a pull off top on this tunnel so I could get in there to do track cleaning if I had to. So, alright, thanks for stopping by, everybody. I will see you this Friday for the review, and have a good rest of your week. Bye now.